Thank you very much.
Okay, great stuff.
So hopefully you can see my slides now. My name is Niamh Fitzgerald. I'm a Professor of Alcohol Policy and Director of the Institute for Social Marketing and Health at the University of Stirling. And I'm going to deliver this presentation in conjunction with Jack Martin, who's the research fellow that we employ to support the community of practice. So we'll tell you a bit more about that in a moment. So the community of practice is, as it says on the tin, about sharing practice to improve the impact of NCD prevention research. And our aim really is to co-develop practice, current thinking and supporting resources in areas that are of mutual interest across the networks and consortia that are funded by UKPRP. So we recognise that there are challenges that are not unique to a specific research topic. We're all forming large groups of researchers. We're all working with lots of different disciplines. We're working with partners. We're working with the public. And so there are challenges that are opportunities for us to generate that new knowledge around how to succeed. So how do we organise ourselves? How do we progress our work? How do we manage the challenges that appear? And to create that sort of shared learning rather than each of us sort of, I suppose, in a way, developing that practice individually. So not having to sort of reinvent solutions that other consortia or networks may have already faced and solved. The idea of the community of practice is that it is dynamic, that it evolves over time, not only as new interests emerge, but also obviously as newly funded consortia join. And we're at that stage now, which I think is really exciting for the community of practice in terms of what the next phase will look like when we have new people who will be bringing their interests and expertise to the group. So the collaborative is what we call the decision-making body of the community of practice, and essentially that's just a group of people that together represent all of the funded consortia and networks in the first round. We're obviously now looking at how we reach out to others, and my colleague Ruth Dundas, who's the co-PI of the community of practice with me, will be attending the first meeting of the newly funded consortia, and there'll be an opportunity for further discussion there as to how and when they might want to engage. And I mentioned already Jack, that's Jack's email address there. So in terms of infrastructure for the community of practice, we've really got the collaborative as the sort of decision-making body, but with the sort of support centrally from Ruth, myself and Jack. The objectives of the community are to work by consensus, but to really kind of go through these stages. So first of all, to have a mechanism to do something in some ways similar to what you've been doing in your breakout rooms this morning, but providing that sort of structured mechanism where there is sort of communication, relationship building and sharing of practice across the networks and consortia. We also, as well as doing that through the collaborative, have sort of interest groups. We call them development themes. And those are sort of interest and working groups where we can have joined up conversations and reflection on specific topics of shared interest. And Jack's going to take you through the ones that we have already established in a few moments. And what will emerge from both the collaborative work and particularly from the development themes is a body of knowledge and resources accompanying that. And those are quite diverse, and we'll give you examples of what we're working on at the moment and what the sort of first resources are that will be emerging. But I think really practical resources, as you would expect, around about how different approaches are being taken and what the pros and cons are of different ways forward on these particular challenges and interests that we have. As we move forward, once those outputs are ready to go, then I think we've got a bigger job to do in terms of communicating and disseminating those in conjunction with UKPRP. And as we progress through the sort of 3 years of the community of practice, we would expect that that will be more outward facing and will not just focus on UKPRP funded research, but looking at NCD prevention research more broadly. And in the sort of second half of those 3 years, I would expect that we would be looking at how we can bring in others who might not be UKPRP funded, but who are working in similar areas, so that the impact of what's funded and the learning through developing these sort of, I suppose, new and really interesting ways of working through networks and consortia can be shared with others who might be bidding to other funders, but in similar areas of work. So what have we done to date in terms of the collaborative meetings? We've had several meetings in sort of making our plans, but in terms of outward facing meetings, we've had these webinars. Each of these webinars have presented sort of two, so sort of loosely matched consortium and network presenting one after the other, and then looking at the synergies in that area of work, and synergies both for those in the consortium network that are presenting, but also synergies with those who have come along to attend, who are working on areas that they may not be part of these existing groups, but they can link into them. And that's really, I suppose, one of the main sort of roles of the collaborative, is to sort of enable those conversations to happen, to make links across what might seem like quite different topics or different topic areas, but where there actually are synergies there that people can work on, and I suppose generate new ideas, new collaborations from that. So we're almost through those meetings. Our final one is this Thursday, which my own consortium, the Spectrum Consortium, will be presented by our PI, Linda Bald. We focus on commercial determinants, and then the Petra network that focuses on the role of trade agreements in public health will be presented by Professor Paul Kingston. So if you're interested in attending that, that's still open for attendees to come along and hear about both of those organizations, both of those groups, but also what to feed in what you're working on that might be relevant, and to find out more about how you might link in. And if you just drop Jack an email, he'll be able to give you the details if you don't already have them. So I'm going to hand you over to Jack in a moment, who's going to take you through the 4 current development themes. Just to mention that we also have a 5th one on improving collaborative research, or meta research, that's currently on hold. So if you're interested in that specific area, Jez, who you heard from earlier, is the person to contact. And we're also looking to add new themes of mutual interest in the coming months that I'll come back to at the end. So I'm just going to hand you over to Jack now. Jack, if you just give me a nod when you want me to move on to the next slide.
No worries. Hello, thanks, Niamh. Yeah, so the basis of my job is to progress these development themes. And so the first one that we've got is the Consortium and Network Management Development theme. And this is led by Sancha at Spectrum. And this has got a real focus on identifying effective approaches and establishing successful management, multi-sector, multidiscipline programs of research. And we kind of touched on that yesterday during yesterday's conference. And the development theme is open for new members as well. So if you're a member and have got experience of progressing and managing complex programs, please do get in touch with Sancha. We've got a meeting later on this month. Hopefully the doodle poll is out just now. So if you do want to get involved in any of these development themes, we are still open for new network for new members. And as Niamh said, the outputs are really going to be the nitty-gritty of what these development themes are for. And so the toolkit is going to be the first one that's going to be produced, and hopefully, as Niamh said, the dissemination is going to be through our new website that's in the final stages, and we're just getting things together now to hopefully launch that soon, and the toolkit is going to be one of the main things on that. And just to make you aware that we've got a webinar coming up at the end of the year as well, so I'll try and keep everybody informed on things that are happening with the co-op, but just to keep your eye out for that. If you go to the next slide, please. This is for the network development theme. So again, a similar sort of theme in which it's about the management and progressing networks. And so if you're interested in this, if you're already part of a member of a network, please do get in touch with Heather. And this one explores solutions in common network issues. And again, the outputs are planned about this. So Kevin talked about it yesterday, that what we do differently and are the new ways of working, especially kind of learning from each other. This is what these development themes are for in specific subjects. And so the outputs, again, are a way to disseminate this and a way to show people outside the group what it is that we're learning and the new ways that everybody can learn together. And so we're producing a manifesto for this, a research manifesto that all the networks have to provide. And another output is a case study as well, based on the diversity of practice of each of the networks. And then our third...
Sorry.
Thanks very much. Is one of the most members, actually, which is probably unsurprising, that impact-orientated research is quite a popular theme. And so again, it's just about sharing learning from others in developing, and how they share understanding of approaches to achieving societal impact across the UKPRP. And I'm sure you agree this is probably one of the most important ones. I think obviously a lot of talk yesterday was about impact and stuff like that. So again, if you do want to be involved, we've got a meeting coming up in a couple of weeks, so please contact Daniel if you'd like to be involved. And that meeting especially will be quite good because we're discussing the existing impact of the document. So again, learning from each other across different consortia networks. And so the pathways to impact and stakeholder analysis and theories of change are all going to be discussed, and the current stances from consortia networks. And again, talking about the outputs, these are really a way for us and others to benefit from the shared learning of these subjects. And so that output is going to be a report on comparing the impact approaches across the UKPRP and the co-op. And then our fourth development theme at the moment is one that Niamh co-runs, and it's to share and compare the reflect on networks and consortia approaches to managing interactions. And so with the commercial sector, sorry. And so again, if you're really interested in this, Lauren would be happy to include anybody in the meeting that's coming up in the next month. And again, this will be a really good one because these last two development themes are kind of in their infancy. It'll be really good to get members to come along to these meetings to help put your opinions across and really kind of put your ideas and how you want to get solutions for the problems that you have. And this meeting especially will be really good because it's going to discuss recent experiences of developing management of interest policies. And so we're going to have a really hopefully good discussion and opportunity to raise dilemmas and problems that individuals have got. And like Niamh said, these development themes are really run and based on the interests of the members. And so it's going to hopefully cover subjects that these people really want to get answers to. And again, the outputs are going to be planned around this as well. So a report around the commercial interactions of the funded groups and hopefully scoping different policies, and also people's opinions as well and discussion with colleagues about their experiences of developing these policies. And so that's what I do. That's the basis of my job, is try and progress these development themes. So please do get in contact with any of us if you want to get involved, and I'll just hand back to Niamh now to talk about the next steps.
Thank you so much, Jack. So as Jack mentioned there, the website will be up and running very soon as part of the UKPRP website. We're looking forward to the introduction of the new consortia and if they come along, also new networks. We have a couple of new development theme ideas that have been raised as we've been progressing. Some of them have been discussed today. I think that you can see that within these there are several different aspects. So systems theory, system science, complexity theory, complexity science has come up. I think one of the things that we would need to hear from you is what aspect of that you would want to be the focus of a development theme, because it could potentially be quite diverse. So is it really two themes, that one is more about sort of specific modeling and methods, or one is about just sort of systems thinking and an approach to systems thinking? So are those different themes, or would they fit together? That would be useful to discuss. Public engagement, lay consultations, citizens assemblies and juries has been another one that I think there's probably quite strong support for. There was some initial informal collaboration between networks and consortia on this issue prior to the development of the community of practice, and so I would say that's probably a hot favourite in terms of what will likely go ahead as another theme. There isn't a limit to the number of themes that we progress in terms of the meetings and the discussion that people want to have. Obviously, there's a potential, if we had loads of themes, that there would be a capacity issue in terms of the amount of support that Jack can provide. We're conscious that we're quite lean as a community of practice, so nobody in the collaborative or in the development teams themselves are necessarily funded to do that work. So the support, the sort of concrete, I suppose, hours and available time and capacity to really progress the outputs is through Jack, and Jack's been working really effectively, I think, in terms of supporting development teams to capture what the learning is and to put that down on paper and into resources. So that was really what we wanted to tell you. Our email addresses are there. I've popped a few questions there for discussion. I think the model in terms of communication is that we communicate with the lead contacts at each of the networks and consortia. So it would be really interesting to hear if that is cascading down to you, if you are aware, if this is the first time you're hearing about the community of practice. If you're in the first batch of networks and consortia that were funded, it shouldn't be the first time you're hearing about it. So it would be useful to, if you feel as though that's not really working, and if we need to maybe have a mailing list that's just for anyone who wants to sign up to a COP mailing list, that would be useful for us to know rather than using that cascade model. Anything that you'd like to see us doing that you could benefit from, that fits with the remit but that we're maybe not doing at the moment, and also if you've got other ideas as to kind of mutual challenges or interests that might benefit from being a development team going forward. But happy to take any questions or comments more generally as well. Thank you.